In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Before we get started, I would like to do a reintroduction for most that are out here, that for the people that do watch the show. And the reason why I would like to do this reintroduction is because the climate here in our country is very, very hot. And I just want to make sure that we all stay focused and do what we need to do. And I wrote this in third person because I want to make sure that you guys know exactly what I want people to know. Charles Zachary King is a bold and insightful voice behind America in Black and White, a podcast dedicated to exploring the intersections of race, education, leadership, and legacy in America. Known for his sharp intellect and fearless curiosity, Charles brings depth and authenticity to every conversation. With a passion for elevating underrepresented voices and a commitment to truth-telling, he creates a space where stories of resilience, transformation, and impact come to life. Whether he's interviewing educators, activists, or cultural icons, Charles leads with empathy and purpose, challenging listeners to think critically and act courageously. His signature style blends journalistic rigor with heartfelt connection, making each episode a powerful experience. Tonight, our special guest is Dr. Trenton M. Watson. Dr. Trenton M. Watson is a proud native of Memphis, Tennessee, and a lifelong champion of education. A graduate of Tennessee State University, Cumberland University, and the University of Arizona, Dr. Watson brings a wealth of academic insight and lived experience to his role as principal of Westwood High School. With the career spanning multiple roles from classroom teacher to vice principal, Dr. Watson has consistently demonstrated a deep commitment to student success and educational equity. He is a devoted husband and father of four, and his personal values are reflected in his professional mission to ensure every student receives the tools, time, and support they need to thrive. Dr. Watson's philosophy is rooted in the belief that learning is never accidental. He often says, the most intelligent people don't have all the answers. They seek the right information. His leadership style is both motivational and strategic, inspiring students to dream boldly and encouraging educators to teach with purpose. Having grown up in Memphis, Dr. Watson sees his work as a homecoming of service. It is with extreme delight that I am able to help service the students of this great city he shares. His journey has been shaped by the legacy of Black excellence, particularly through the influence of Harold McRae, Levi Pointer, and Dr. Rod Richmond, three trailblazers whose impact continues to guide his vision for transformative education. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring to the show Dr. Watson. Hello, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing just excellent. Thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show.
Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio before we get into the show?
I was intrigued by all the things that you were saying. I was like, wow, that sounds so good. I'm going to make sure that I share. When I go out, I'm like, wow, man, Doc, you really on right there. I was like, wow, okay. I, I'm praying that I'm going to make sure to show that to the superintendent. I was like, you see how he talked about you as a trailblazer? That's really, really great. But no, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, and that's just who I am. Just a humble servant in this work, and I just try to do the best that I can day after day, to be the best I can for the kids.
Yes, sir. And again, is we appreciate the work that you do because again, it's not just important, but it makes a difference and is very impactful.
Absolutely.
So let's start as your career as an educator.
Sure.
What inspired you to pursue a career in education?
Truth be told, my mother was an educator for 30 years, and I had no desire, no passion, no drive, no no realistic connection with education and being an educator. I was like, ain't no way I'm doing that. My mother, when I was in college, told me I should get my certification. And I was like, why? For what? I don't need that. I was like, Mom, I'm not gonna do this. She said, no, you just need it just in case, you know, coming in an era where, people was like have this to fall back on, just be able to fall back on this. And so, ironically, when I decided to do it, I had a student teaching assignment at a kindergarten, in a kindergarten class at an elementary school.
Oh wow.
I was so blown away by how those elementary kids treated me. And then I went to a middle school and then to a high school. And I was like, wow. I was like, well, maybe, one day, after I'm done with whatever I'm going to do, I'll I'll reach back and do some things with the kids in the school. But I still was like, yeah, long term, I can't do this. Well, um, I came home from college, um, and I was looking for a job. And my mom kept saying, well, why don't you be an educator? And I was like, no. So, Mom, that's not it. So I went into sales. I was in sales for a couple of years. I actually moved back to Nashville. And while I was there, I still wasn't, something was missing. Okay. And so when I decided to come back to Memphis full time, my mom said, I think it's time for you to get into the school system. And so that's where Harold McRae came along and he
Mhm.
got me my first job. And of course, I've been working ever since. And
Mhm.
I got bit by the bug, if you will.
Mhm.
School, I was doing everything from teaching to coaching, to, tutoring to, mentoring. And so it just became a passion. I
Mhm.
shifted, from just being an employee to being an educator, and I felt the shift, and so that's why this book came about, because it's important for us to be that, for our kids every day.
Oh my God. That's an actual excellent story, but I mean, so have you and your mother ever actually had a conversation since where you just think about that time going back to now?
So prior to her passing in 2023, we used to talk all the time, about you know um, where I was, what I intended to do and what I ended up doing. And I think she was very proud of the fact that, not only did I become an educator, but I prided myself on trying to be an effective one,
Mhm.
beyond just the call of duty. I saw my mother, buy snacks for kids, just so they wouldn't be hungry if they didn't eat the night before. I saw her going to the store and she may see socks on sale that were 10 for $10. And I was like, why are you buying socks? Because some kid may not have socks. And now I have socks to give them, just in case they're in need. So that was the servitude that I saw in her. And I couldn't help but to pick that baton up and run with it when I became an educator myself.
Mm. How did your time as a classroom teacher shape your leadership style?
One of the things is that, well, I think the most important thing is that you learned how to meet kids where they were. You can't do mountaintop teaching in a classroom and expect, for valley level kids, to climb up that mountain, because you got to get down in the trenches.
Mhm.
teaching down, guess what? They're not going to respect you. They got to be able to see. You got to be able to look at them eye to eye and see where they are, and understand that at a certain point, guess what? You were a student as well. There are challenges that our kids have now that we didn't even fathom when we were in school. But you
Right.
got to get to know where they are. You got to know who you're serving. That's critical, because if you don't, then guess what? You are potentially going to lose them in the struggle. And if you lose them in the struggle, then you guess what? You just wasted 180 days or however many days of a school year that you've gone through.
Oh, wow. So, what were some of the early challenges you faced in the education system?
One of the things is just coming in as a new teacher, just trying to get accustomed to uh, creating lesson plans and making sure that I was effectively bridging the gap when it came to the learning process, knowing the content well enough that I could teach it. I mean, you can go in and say, well, yeah, I took English. I may have been an English major, but that doesn't mean you know how to appropriately deliver the content. And you have to know appropriation on how to deliver. You can't just go in there and be talking. That's not going to work. You got
Mhm,
to know that you're getting across this information to the children, and they are able to show you what they know. Because a
mhm,
lot of times you can get up there and you're doing too much heavy lifting, and then the kids, they didn't get anything out of it, but just a bunch of meaningless talk. They
mhm.
to express themselves, express what they know. And if you see that there's gaps, then you can learn very quickly how to create a reteach plan so that you can go back and fill in those holes with
Mhm.
kids otherwise didn't get the learning process.
Can you give us an example of that process? Because, I don't think I've ever heard an educator actually explain the situation the way you just explained that situation. Because I know that there's got to be something in which, you have to do, as you say, to get down to that level and then bring it up. What are some of those processes that you were just mentioning and talking about?
So for example, if I'm teaching a lesson, if I'm teaching a lesson on a particular day, and I'm going through the content, I'm going through the context of the lesson, right? And then I test on that context, and I'm gonna give it a number. I've got 100 kids in the class, okay,
Mhm,
and only 20 of them pass.
mhm,
I move on to the next lesson, and I'm teaching and teaching, and then I give a test, and 25 pass. What did I miss? That means that on the first standard, I had 80 kids that did not pass,
mhm,
kids that did not grasp the concept. On the second standard, I had 75 kids that did not grasp the concept. So
mhm,
what I think is I'm not being effective. What I am is I'm failing those 75 and 80 kids that didn't get the concept with those standards. So when I'm teaching the content, what I do is, like, one of the things we do in our system here is we do what's called academic monitoring. So
mhm,
as I'm going through the lesson, right, I
mhm,
go round the room. I'm sharking the room, if you will. I'm sharking the room to see where kids are, and I can see, okay, um, Brother King did not get that answer correct. Okay, I see. Brother Watson did not get that answer correct. So now, if I'm noticing that my best kids, Brother King was one of the smartest kids in the room. If he didn't get it, what does that mean for the rest of them?
mm. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So he's one of my top level students, what we call a tier one student. He's tier top. So if he didn't understand it, I can't expect for the person that usually answers all the questions. If he didn't get it, what am I looking at with the rest of the children? The ones that I know are struggling academically. So that means I have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how I'm going to bring along everybody else. This is why it's important to meet where they are.
Okay. How do you define effective teaching in today's classroom?
Effective teaching is what I said in my mantra, is not having all the answers. You
Mhm,
have to be open to the learning. Guess what? Education changes not every year, every day.
mhm,
You have education called differentiation. What
mhm,
does that means? That every child in that room is different. and they learn different, right? So
Right.
I'm not willing to accept the fact that you have to differentiate your instruction to fit the context of what's in your room, then you are failing our children. In this time, in this climate, you got to know what excites kids about the learning.
Mhm.
So, hey, for example, when I was in the 12th grade, my English teacher told me something that blew my mind. She
Mhm.
said, if you would take the time to memorize this Shakespeare, I'll take the time to memorize any rap song that you put in front of me.
Uh-oh.
And I, oh, man, you got to be kidding. So I told my best friend, I was like, let's find the raunchiest rap song that we listen to, down for learning it. And so, to our surprise, she did. And I said, well, if she did that, we don't have a choice but to, learn what she asked us. But the thing about it, like now, it's still that same concept still applies. You just gotta know where kids are. You gotta know what makes them tick. Guess what? Kids like TikTok. So guess what? As a teacher, what's wrong with making the TikTok about the learning with the kids? They'll get a kick out of it. You
Mhm.
turn it into a competition. You got 20 kids in your class, like, all right, everybody, I'm gonna make a TikTok with you. We're gonna pick which TikTok is the best. And we're gonna do this every 9 weeks. And so you're gonna get an incentive for making the best TikTok. But it's the learning that's in it. These concepts have to be in your TikTok.
Okay.
Draw the kids in. You just gotta draw them in so they can have fun with the learning and make it where it's something that they want to do, not something that they have to do.
Mhm. Wow, that is amazing, and because like I know when I was in school, there was no such as no TikTok, there was no Facebook, there was no none of that.
Right.
And so when you just think about that now, and I guess it's because it's now part of the culture, I guess it makes it that much more relevant. As you say, that sounds like something really pull them in because that's where they are anyway.
Correct. So see, if we know where they are, and we know where we're trying to take them, we utilize every resource possible to get them there. We want to make sure that they are doing the right thing and doing it the right way. But we utilize those things that we know that they're excited about, that they're connected to, and that will move them in the right direction. So that's important.
So, what role does empathy play in your approach to education?
It plays a role because I always tell kids when anytime they have challenges, that we've been kids. I don't want you to ever think that we were born adults. We were not. We didn't come here grown. I've been 16. I've been 14. I've been 13. I understand. Yes, we came up in an era where the song without parents just don't understand, because
Hmm.
felt like, hey, you don't understand what I'm going through. And our parents had to tell us, guess what? We've been your age. I know what that feels like. I know what that means. I know what the changes look like. That's a part of the process. But um, if you're not empathetic, if you don't do that, then you're not really an educator. So you got to be able to you got to be able to monitor where your kids are. For example, if a kid comes in smiling every day, always personable, always nice, always on point, always respectful. But then on this particular Friday, this kid comes in with a frown, head down, snapping at everybody. If you're just an educated employee, you're going to want to call a parent, send them home, write them up, put them in school suspension, put them in detention, whatever. But you don't realize that this kid has four other siblings that are younger than them, and they're the oldest, and they have to go home every day and make sure that their siblings are taken care of because their mother has a job at night, and she doesn't have the time to spend to make sure that the kids are getting their homework done, are getting their dinner prepared, are making sure that they get their bath, are making sure that they go to bed, that their clothes are ironed for the next day. But this particular kid is taking on the responsibility of a parent, and they're a child themselves. And then when they come to school, they haven't done their homework, they haven't had any sleep, they barely got anything to eat, and their head is down.
Mhm.
So now it's like, how can I help them to be successful? What can I do to help change their day for the better? Well, why don't you pull them to the side and say, hey, let me put you in the reset room. Why don't you go in there and take a nap? I'm going to get you something to eat. So when you wake up, you have something to eat. I'm going to pull all your work together. You can work in isolation today so you can, take the time, take it slow. You don't have to rush. Get your work done. I'm going to help you get it done. And at the end of the day, guess what? We're going to figure out what we're going to do over the weekend to make sure you're okay.
Oh,
That
no.
that's the difference, right?
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
you don't know what the struggle is. If you're not really rooted and grounded in trying to make a difference, you don't care about the struggle. Because a lot of these kids struggle.
right. How do you support teachers in developing their instructional skill?
Well, we are consummate coaches, and as a consummate coach, you got to also be realistic and know that you're a teacher first.
Mhm.
You got to see where the teachers are, and you got to talk about your journey. It's just like being a coach for basketball. You got to be able to talk about the process. If you've never been through the struggle, then you can't really tell me how to get to the mountaintop. You don't know what this is like. How
Yeah.
you me how to bake a cake if you've never been in the kitchen?
I don't think nobody want that cake.
Okay, it and here's the thing. It may turn out good. It may turn out great. But the
Uh,
thing about it is, you can't teach me how to make it because
mm,
you really haven't gone through the steps. We were blown away by the way older people used to be able to make dishes without a cookbook or without measuring cups. They knew they could tell you if it was too salty and they made it like, you only put a pinch of salt in there. Well, I put a pinch of salt in it, but at the same time, I know I shouldn't put two, or I shouldn't have put two, I should just put one. Like, how could you tell? Because they've been in the kitchen. If you haven't been in the kitchen, guess what? You can't tell me how to ride a bike if you never sat on one. How you gonna ride a bike? Because you watch somebody ride a bike. It's not the same thing. You
right.
from experience, and the experience is what helps them feel. And you have to have teachers when you're coaching them, make them feel like they are part of the process,
Mhm.
not dumping information on them. They have to feel like they're part of the building process. That's what changes the narrative and changes the game when it comes to education.
What's one lesson you've learned from your students that changed your perspective?
That active listening goes a long way.
Mm,
That you're listening to be able to repeat what I just said, be able to remember what I said, how I felt, be in the moment. You know, Sometimes people will say, "Yeah, I'm listening to what you're saying," and they're not really listening
mm,
to them. They can tune you out. The active listener can be able to say, "Yeah, now tell me again. What lesson you learned from your students uh, in the process," and then you can be able to repeat exactly what they asked or what they stated, and it means that what they stated is important to you. And
mhm.
even some of the worst children, you got to be able to sit down and actively listening, because if you don't actively listen to those children, they may be going through something, a challenge that you missed, but you got to
Mm.
listen. You got to be willing to listen.
So, how do you balance academic rigor with emotional support?
Sometimes it's difficult because there are times when I feel like we have loved our kids to illiteracy. We've loved on them so much that we've taken away from the process of the learning. I want our kids to get every bit of education, that they, everything. I want you to soak it dry. You have to be intelligent. You have to be better than the norm. You got to think outside the box. You have to. Yeah, we want to be sympathetic. We want to be empathetic. We want to love on you. We want to give you everything. like today, I had a clear the air, fight free celebration for kids that gone 30 days with no altercation, no issues, no problem, perfect attendance, all of those things. End of the day,
Mm.
have to be
So, so can you tell me this? Because what I've noticed though about academics today is that it seems like the kids are not critically thinking.
real. Mhm.
Do you make that a part? And did you ever make that a part of your curriculum to make sure that the kids learn and understood what critical thinking is? Or
Yeah.
is that something that's being done today now that has been realized that it's missing?
Well, higher order thinking skills has always been aligned with our instructional content. We made it a priority. Having been an English teacher, it was something that was embedded into our lessons, and so now it's being highlighted more than it has in the past, to make sure students are using high order thinking skills and that teachers are asking high order questions so that kids can think outside of the box. Because, for example, you and I, when we were coming up, we learned through what's called rote memorization, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
For here's an example. What's 10 times 10?
100.
Okay, 12 times 12.
144.
What's 13 times 9?
That is
See,
an 81.
but you see the difference? You see the pause?
Hmm.
Because we were told that 12 times 12 was enough. Now you're
Hmm.
going to learn all the other concepts like 13 times 9, but when you get to 12 times 12, that's where rote memorization stops. Well, now we are in a realm where they want our kids to learn through cognitive analyzation, not just why is it 12, what is 12 times 12, but why? How do you get to that? How do you get to the 144, right? And
Okay.
we you have generation after generation after generation after generation that learn through rote memorization.
Okay.
That's why when a parent helps a kid with homework, it comes back an F.
Come on now. Are you serious?
Many times have you heard people say on podcasts, on TV shows, on what is this new math? Well,
Yeah.
cognitive analyzation and the kids are learning different than what we learned. Now we learn what the answer was. They have to learn the why. And
Okay. Okay.
it's a DNA process of rote memorization. Now they're transitioning to something else,
Well,
and it's a challenge. But at the end of the day, I believe we are some of the.
okay. We've got a pause here with Dr. Watson. We got some technical difficulties. So we get Dr. Watson back. Hold on. Let's see what's going on here. Dr. Watson? Dr. Watson?
Doc, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Let me see. I don't know why you can't see me. I don't know why you can't see me. The camera is on. It,
Because when you actually went off that, then the circle has got the DTW that popped up before you actually was disconnected.
yeah, because we were on about that's something went happened with this power. I don't know what happened there, but man, we were really on a roll.
Check your in your settings for your camera if it's able to be open and needs to be shared.
Let me see. Let me go in the settings here because I was. Let's see here. 'Cause it was awesome. What happened with that? I don't know why it's something about camera stopped. Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. I'm gonna pick it up.
Hmm.
Just, I don't know what's going on with this camera. Just out of nowhere. Let me see if
Um.
devices here. Let me see if I can I'm gonna come in on a different device. And we're going to switch code, switch here. Try this here. And to see if I can switch devices here. Maybe.
Okay, I can see you now. And you're shadowy now. Both of your things that came in. There we go. I can see you now.
You see.
Yes, sir. I can see you. Is there something going on with your internet?
Like the internet.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'm back now.
Dr. Watson?
Yeah, I'm in here now.
Okay.
All right.
There we
Man,
go.
that's difficulty 101.
All righty. So what advice would you give to new educators entering the field?
One of the things is if you're a new educator, find a mentor. Um, Somebody that works in your particular subject area that you know, or if you don't know someone, ask around about somebody that can mentor you that has been in the business for some time. They can kind of tell you the ins and outs of what it is. Um, Also, be sure to grasp all concepts and know the content. Know the content that you are. Don't just be a I come in the morning and I leave as soon as the bell ring kind of teacher. If you do that, not going to be effective. Don't plan your lessons on the way to work. Have your lessons planned prior to getting there. Be the type of person that goes above and beyond and study, read, think, and do consistently. Know who you're serving. Get to know your kids. I don't want you to be friends with them, but I want you to get to know them. I want you to build relationships, appropriate relationships with your children. that you serve every day. It's important that these scholars know who you are, where you come from, what you stand for, because it's important. It has value, because if you don't do that, then you're wasting time, wheels, and you don't want to do that.
How do you stay current with educational trends and research?
I go to every conference. I'm always up on the latest technology. I want to make sure that whatever trend is happening in education, we stay on top of it. We want to be innovative, creative as possible. Don't think inside of the box. Now, some of the old school adages, antiquated ways of thinking, some of that stuff does work. But for the most part, we're dealing with a different type of children. This generation of children do not think the same. One of the words that has gone completely down the toilet, Dr. Respect.
Mm.
It's not automatic, which it was, but it's not.
So let's transition to your career as a principal.
Okay.
So what does a typical day look like for you at Westwood High School?
Work. It's work. It's work. It's it's work. Where do you want to start? And man, I'm the principal, the building engineer, part-time security, secretary, classroom teacher, coach, whatever you want to call it, man. Custodial. I mean, a cafeteria worker, whatever you want to call me. I do it all. But that's a part of serving kids every day. When I come in the morning, I typically just, come in my office, sit in the dark, say my prayers, uh, and turn the light on and get started. I check email to see, what it is that is required. I have a list of 10 things that I'm going to do that day. I probably will get through 3 of them, because stuff goes on all throughout the day, operational things. Going from class to class, seeing where teachers are, what they're planning, what they're doing, how they're teaching the kids every day. Dealing with issues with young people, conflict resolution all day long. Dealing with issues with adults, conflict resolution all day long. I'm constantly telling our adults that if you are not getting along, the kids are picking up on it. Because if they see any type of division, guess what? They pounce on it because they
Mhm.
take advantage of the situation to play both ends against the middle. So we all have to be on the same page. All
Yep.
sure that the learning is where it's supposed to be. Want to be a high level school, even in an impoverished neighborhood, you have to do what's necessary and have the resources to do what's necessary to bring those kids to where they need to be. They can't be a statistic. They must set the period. So every day I walk the neighborhoods every day. When the bell rings in the morning, I walk the neighborhood to make sure that I don't see kids hiding out or kids not coming to school at a decent time. I do that because that's something that was ingrained in me. My mentors did it, so I follow that same way.
Mhm. So how do you foster a culture of excellence among your staff?
I lead by example. One of the things is I don't take mediocrity for I don't take it at all. You can't be mediocre. You can't think like someone who is down, depressed. Um, you're divisive. If you're that type of person, I can't have you in the building. If
Mhm.
you got to, um, if you're doing anything to hurt children, you say, if you're the type of person that's always negative, you ain't gonna be able to make it in our building. You be up. You have to realize that even with the challenges, these are opportunities. Don't focus on the challenges. Focus on the opportunity. The opportunity to get it right. Don't say you'll try. Say you'll figure out another way. Because if you fail, it doesn't matter. You're gonna fall hard, but get up. Figure out how we're gonna do this. It's just the it's just the way we drive ourselves every day. The mantra at our school is we believe, and we believe that we can be the best of the best at everything we do, and it becomes infectious.
So, with your school, how does compared to the other schools that's in your district, how is the resources for your school compared to other schools? I mean, are you guys fully resourced, or are there things that you have to improvise with?
I'm always improvising when it comes to resources, when it comes to money. We are given certain resources in our district, but our district is challenged with that too. And I feel for the superintendent having to fight as hard as he does to try to pool resources for our schools. He wants all of our schools to be high level. He does, but it's tough. It's tough fighting with the state trying to get money. It's tough fighting with even local authorities trying to get money for the school. It's tough. And you think about the deferred maintenance and all of these buildings and all of the things that are needed. It's tough, but um, I'm always trying to be innovative, uh, getting to the point where I don't want kids to have to pay for anything, even if something as simple as a field trip. I don't want them to have to pay for it. I put stuff in place to try to eliminate those costs.
Wow, so you're like a modern day Joe Clark.
um, yeah, somebody said that. Um, I think I've heard that once or twice, but the thing about it is, I want all of us to lean on each other. And,
Mhm.
but I want us to lean on each other and be able to count on each other so that our kids can be the best that they can be. They have some major challenges. Their thought process is way different, but I want them to understand that you got people that care because I tell teachers all the time, and this is an old adage that people don't know how they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that's very evident with our children.
Mm. So, what initiatives have you implemented to improve student outcomes?
Well, one of the things is, example, we have our scholarship Fridays where we take our seniors on Friday and we spend time applying for scholarships, um, so
Wow.
that scholarship level is higher than it has been prior to me arriving. Implementing the Fight Free Vision, where we're understanding that it's about conflict resolution and making sure that we don't have to resort to violence to in order to resolve conflict, because that doesn't get us anywhere. My English department has Starbucks Saturdays where they go to Starbucks on Saturdays and they collaborate. Their collaborative planning process infuses into our professional learning community that we have once a week, where we are all just collaborative planning, so that when you go from class to class, it looks similar. This is the one band, one sound,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is what our process is. We have a Focus 5 agenda. Um, Being a level 5 school means you're at the highest level in the state of. Well, we have a Focus 5 agenda in our particular school. This curriculum drives everyone to use every resource, every aspect of level 5.
So, how do you address disparities in academic achievement?
Well, one of the things is, well, we of course we do the standard. We have tutoring, but we also have our pull out process where we are looking at the bottom 25% of those students who are on benchmark data have not been successful. Those students are given an opportunity um, pulled out and work with the academic specialist so that we're meeting them where they are, knowing that they're having disparities in this particular area, challenges in this area. Now we're going to make a shift. Okay, we're going to pull them out and see how we can build them up, at least getting to an approaching status where they seemingly are grasping the concept of the standard or the lesson when it comes to academics. And before they go back to class, they're able to take an assessment to see if they've actually grasped the concept. And then we meet with the teacher to talk about, okay, this is what we saw. This is what we think we need to do moving forward to make sure that these We want to see which kids are consistent with coming into these pull-out sessions, and which ones are moving forward and not coming so much. So we kind of keep data on that, utilizing our data room, and teachers are able to look at the data to see which kids, maybe across the board and across subject area, are coming to these pull-out sessions.
Oh, wow. So that means that how many different metrics do you guys have to take? Because it sounds like you're doing like at least 5, 7, maybe 10 of them.
Yeah, well, it just, I mean, we just try to keep it as simple as possible. But again, when you have your teams, with us being a school with only 400 kids, it's easier to do because you only have one teacher per subject area, and
Oh,
even it doesn't, you doesn't have a widespread process. Now we can centralize it. We know that these kids, these 10 kids, are consistent, and because they're consistent, we know that those are the ones that may be challenged when it comes to the standardized test at the end of the year.
wow. So can you tell me this? Because I know that they still do that, that it's a standardized test. Compared to the time that you and I were in school to now, how has that test, has it changed where it's gotten better?
There's a accountability that has happened, and the accountability shift is that we're taking on the responsibility for the outcomes of someone else's intelligence.
Oh, wow.
So, like, your school is measured on the outcomes of student testing, right? So,
Mhm.
that's the case. What happens is, if you got 20 kids that take this test, and you have to show if 80% is mastery, right? 20 of these kids may not test well.
Right.
They may be highly intelligent, they just don't test well. And
Mm.
because they don't test well, guess what happens? Oh,
Down.
test scores are terrible.
Mhm.
But you look at it like this: what sense does it make to have a kid that's the valedictorian of a school, but they got a 14?
Wait.
That's a
Oh,
that correlate.
really?
Yeah, that's a commonplace. That's not an uncommon occurrence. You have kids that are number one in their class.
Mhm.
Their standardized test score is terrible. I'm not going to name them specifically, but
Right.
the college presidents who make 14s on their AC, and they're the president of a university.
Mhm. You
On
know,
test,
I will. So so as that myth, or not a myth, but that thing that was measured when I know I was in school apparently is still apparent, and that is, that when it just comes to particular students or particular cultures with standardized testing, I mean, you could be, as you say, smart as all outdoors. You're doing really good on this, that, and the other. But on that particular test or those tests, they just don't test.
what about the times when you have kids that just don't feel like taking the test that day? They just
That's
don't.
true too.
I'm tired. Um, I remember playing in a basketball game the night before I took the ACT. I didn't get home until 11 o'clock, and I had to take the ACT the next day. I wonder sometimes if my score could have been higher. Even though I made a good score, it could have been much greater had I got some rest.
Hmm.
But you have some kids that just go in there and it looks foreign to them. What about the kid who hasn't been diagnosed with dyslexia? What about the kid who
Hmm.
mild dyslexia? What about the kid who has, again, text anxiety? What about the kid who just doesn't feel like it? What are we dealing with? What about the kid who just doesn't know how to take tests? All
Right.
of that factor in. This kid would be great in college. This kid would be make a great asset to any university. But when it comes to the test, which is the measurement of whether they're prepared for college, they just don't.
So, does that say anything about the prep itself when it comes to that, or Could anything be done different, you think?
You can change. Of course, we have all of these different measurements and all of these different concepts and all. At the end of the day, when it's time to swim, you
Mm.
one or two things:
Swim or sink.
swim or sink. What are you going to? You have been taught how to swim, but then guess what? You get in the water and you panic.
Mm.
Get in the water and you forget all that you've been taught. All you can do is sit there or sink to the bottom.
Wow. That's something else. I mean,
Yeah,
because I mean, so that's still a thing.
absolutely.
Um, so what's your approach to student discipline and restorative practices?
Absolutely. um, Student discipline is something that is a catch 22 because sometimes we want to you want to go through because let me say this: gone are the day. Corporal punishment is gone. We
Mhm.
gone, gone. And like I said earlier about the whole respect factor, a lot of kids don't understand what respect is. Respecting rules and regulations. You have to really ingrain those things into them, and you have to create a process and a culture and an operational system that it becomes routine to them to do the things that they're supposed to do. If you don't set that particular precedent, then you're gonna have kids all over the place. Yes, you're gonna have those that challenge the status quo. Yes, you're gonna have those who are gonna push against the envelope every day. But you have to be consistent with what your expectations are. And they have to know what those expectations are. It's just the same thing in the classroom. If you got 5 rules, these 5 rules have to apply and they have to stick. And they have to know that you mean what you say because you say what you mean. Period. Every single day. If
Mm.
it if it's good for one, it's good for them all. If the worst student in the school gets a consequence for this, then the best student in the school has to get the same consequence. It has to be fair. It has to be clear. It has to be concise. It has to be direct, and you cannot waver from it. Guess what? There are circumstances where you can talk through it, but it has to be consistent.
Mm. So, how do you engage parents and the broader community in school life?
I'm constantly talking. I'm constantly communicating. I'm constantly putting out information. I'm constantly inviting them in, bringing them in to see what we're doing. I am I have a strong alumni that I deal with, constantly making them a part of the process, wanting them to know that this is home, this is school, this is where you came from. Come here, come back, and just impact our kids. Be a mentor. Um, stand outside of school at dismissal to help us with the dismissal process. Parents, we want you to be involved. We want you to see what we're doing. We want you to know what's happening. We want you to meet the team. I want you to come to our events. I want to sell out our basketball and football games because I want you to be here. I want parent night to be busting out the seams, standing room only because we deserve that because our kids deserve it. They
Yeah.
have, they have to know it's important, value.
Mm. So, what's the most rewarding part of being a principal?
The most rewarding part of being a principal is being able to see the eyes of those kids who get it every day, the ones who are actually seeing the opportunity to be the best that they can be every day. That's the most rewarding part. Kids coming back after they graduate and telling me that they're doing well. That's rewarding. Kids who have graduated and gone on into professional careers are doing well. That's rewarding. My kids coming in the morning and just saying good morning. That's
Mhm.
rewarding.
Oh, wow. So, how do you handle moments of crises or conflict within the school?
Breathe first. Take a deep breath. Assess the situation. Um, look at potential outcome. Don't focus on the challenge, focus on the opportunity. Try to get it together. But
Mm.
watching to make sure that you don't fold under crisis. And you can't fold. It's not time to fold. It's not time to yell, fuss, scream. It's time to focus. And if we get focused, then we can change the narrative. We change the game, but we gotta focus.
What metrics do you use to measure school success?
Well, as I said before, our success is measured based on student outcomes. And from a localized standpoint, I mean, within our school, we look at how many students have reached mastery. We utilized our data room to kind of look at, where our kids are, if they're reaching goals. Everybody, you can have a plan, but you got to have some goals. And our goals are set. Our teachers know the goals, and because they know them, they push for them every single day. They want the best out of these kids. And here it is. This is the standard right here. One of the I'm not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but I'm big on the coach because, of course, he's my fraternity brother. He has a mantra inside the locker room. It says the standard is the standard.
Mm.
What it is, no matter who's in the position, the standard is the standard. It's the difference between buy-in and ownership.
Mhm.
We have to work.
So, how do you mentor aspiring school leaders?
Uh, first thing, first things first. I always ask them the question, why? Why do you want to do this work? Um, and I spend time with them going through a particular scenario, a particular day. Um, understanding what work-life balance looks like. Also, understanding that you have to take time for um, your studies. You have to take time for professional development. You have to take time for yourself. You better learn how to walk, work, do something, because at the end of the day, this is a lot to take on. It's a heavy robe to wear, and if you wear it loosely, it's not gonna work. You better tie that robe up, covered, because this work, it takes time and development to be better every day.
So, when we chatted, and I told you we do Black History 365,
Sure.
and I asked you who was the most influential person in your life and your career. You mentioned Harold McRae, Levi Pointer, and Dr. Rod Richmond. Can you tell us how has growing up in Memphis shaped your identity as an educator?
Well, this particular city has given me a lot, well, a lot to it. Of course, I grew up in a time when things were a little different. You could walk the streets at night and not really worry about anything happening to you. I fell in love with that part of the city. I fell in love with the fact that we are a city that has so much and has so many resources and has grown so many great people. It's just I just don't I can't say enough about the city of Memphis and how it impacted me from the lowest of the lows to the highest of the highs. It's been an amazing place, and I'm just thankful to be able to have some type of impact on the kids that we serve every day.
So, why are Harold McRae, Levi Pointer, and Dr. Rod Richmond so influential in your life?
Harold McRae, of course, I met him when I was 5 years old, and he used to always tell me as a kid that I would end up at the school where he was principal, and I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that because as long as you there, I'm not." And the last time he told me that, I told him I would never set foot inside of his school, and lo and behold, that's where I became principal. Um, Levi Pointer gave me my first. He gave me my first shot as an administrator, um, and I'm saying that because he asked me one day when I was a school teacher. Of course, we served together on the security team in our church, and he was an aspiring principal at that time, and he was at my school doing a walkthrough, pulled me to the side. He said, I think it's about time that you start thinking about being an administrator. And I was like, you think so? And he's like, yeah, it's that time. When I got an opportunity, he helped me, and I became his vice principal, and been mentoring me ever since. And Rod is a man, is a special individual because, of course, he's a graduate of Tennessee State University, as I am, fraternity brother, and um, he has given me a lot of insight, and he's also given me a lot of ideas that I use in my school, even with the Fight Free Vision. He brought that to the city, and we thought it was mind blowing when he did it and how he was. And of course, I use it now, and he's been very supportive of me as a leader over the years, and I appreciate him for what.
Mm. So, can you share a personal story involving one of these mentors?
Um, I'll say this. I remember I remember when I needed a job, and my mother asked me to call Mr. McRae, and Mr. McRae said I could meet him at the Board of Education, and I did. I went down. I had on a full suit, and I was ready to, interview whatever I had to do in order to get the job. Mr. McRae came in. He had on a pair of pants with no belt loops, and and uh, we were. He told me to come on, and we went up in the, and he told me to sit out in the waiting area with the secretary, and so I did. And so about 5 minutes later, he comes back out the office. He said, "Come on with me." I said, "Okay." So we go down to human resources, and I said, "Well, what are we getting ready to do?" He's like, "You getting ready to sign your contract?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're going to start work on Monday." This was a Thursday afternoon. I was like, "Huh?" He's like, and I was like, "But I haven't interviewed with anyone." He said, "Doesn't matter. You're ready to start work on Monday. Sign this contract. This is how much you're going to make. This is what you got to do. You got to go get your background check, and you got to get your TB test. You're going to do that tomorrow. That's on Friday." And I was like, and he's like, "You start work Monday." Wow. I said, "So that's how it works? So you just can go into the superintendent's office and tell him that I'm going to, you know, get a job and I get to start work on Monday?" I was like, "Cool." I said, "I got to get to that point where I can do that type of stuff." Well, of course, that's never happened to me, but hey, some people just got it like that. And so I've always, admired the fact that he had those connections. And even when I became an administrator, he had retired, but how he came back as a retired administrator to run a school when they didn't have a principal. I was able to work under him for a year, and it was really good to be able to serve under him because he really, really put a lot of insight in my head. Um, when I was up and coming administrator. So I appreciate him so much. And then I just found out this year that the two of us share the same birthday.
Oh my God. Oh,
Yeah.
do you call that fate or divine intervention?
Well, the dangerous part about it, Mr. Mack passed in 2021, but the dangerous thing is the alumni at Westwood, they always say, "Man, you just like, boy, you remind me so much of him. You remind me so much of him." Then they found out we had the same birthday. They were like, "See, we knew it. This is what it is. This is why we say what we say." But I always tell them if I could just walk in one of his shoes, I'd be winning.
What lessons from Black history do you integrate into your leadership?
All of them, because
Mm.
I feel like we've missed so many things that we weren't taught, that we didn't know coming up. I feel robbed. Sometimes I tell my kids, I say, I want you to know the truth, because the truth is something that definitely will set you free. We perish for a lack of knowledge. We didn't get all this knowledge. We didn't know anything about the hidden figures. I didn't know anything about that in school. I learned that as an adult. And I said, but you see how powerful and impactful that is? That you have these women that helped make history, that was suppressed because of their color and because of who they were. I said, what happens when you give up those gifts of understanding and knowledge? and raise our level of thinking that we can be whatever we put our mind to. That's the drive every single day. No disrespect to any Black leader that has been great and impactful that they gave us to say, oh, and if you look at it in the encyclopedia, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King only got a paragraph. But let's go beyond the scope of those. Both of those great leaders were both assassinated. One of them was assassinated right here in this city.
Yo.
And I'm like, dude, and I have asked kids when I was in the English class, I said, do a parallel. Ever since that day, look at the state of the city and where it has gone. How deep, impactful was it that Dr. King? Now, watch this. They told you he was assassinated on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. You know that he actually died. He was dead. How is it that Dr. King is a shot on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel and somebody is there to take a picture? But hey, I don't know. Don't let me get started on that, dog. We'll be all night talking about that. But saying just
But
general.
that's an interesting philosophy.
I mean, it's just in general. We just want our kids to not forget who they are, where they come from, and where they're going, and that's just it's important.
How do you ensure Black students see themselves reflected in the curriculum?
Yeah, because that's why it's important for them to connect to the work. If they don't connect to the work, then it's hard pressed for them to push forward. They gotta be excited about the work. They gotta see themselves. They gotta know where they are. How does this apply to them? And if they know how it's applicable to them, then when they see that, they do better. They just like, man, why I gotta learn this? Well, let me tell you why. This is it.
So, what does culturally responsive education mean to you?
It means everything. You got to know where, again, if we don't know who we are, where we come from, we're doomed to repeat a bunch of mistakes that we've made. Uh, for example, like, if you don't know where I am, uh, how you go? If you don't know where I've been, how you gonna know where I am? Understand where I'm coming from? Yeah. So you got to know, you got to know where I've been. Or you gotta know these things. That's why it's important to talk to older people who are critical.
How do you honor Black excellence in your school community?
We are Black excellence. Uh, we are Black excellence. From the church that's our biggest supporter, to our alumni nation who we highlight all the time. We have bricks on our wall of people who have left a legacy. And that's everybody. I tell anybody that's been to that school, you are a part of the legacy. You are honored, supported. You have to highlight. You have to show that, hey, you've been here. You walked through these halls. What does it mean? It means that you were a part of history. You're not. We're gonna make history, and so, yeah, we are Black. Every time you step into that building, you're stand up, head up high, stick your chest out, and don't you look down because you don't deserve to. Stop looking down at one another. Be the change you want to see every day.
What role does legacy play in your work?
The legacy is, what do you leave behind for the next generation? How can I make this place better than when I left it? And the person behind me has to make it better than when I left it. And it has to just keep going. That process it's got to be a cycle of growth. That's what you want to cycle of growth and achievement consistently. And if that's not happening, it's tough. And then schools fail.
How do you teach students about resilience through historical narratives?
Because you talk about the people who've been through the struggle and who've overcome those struggles. You have to show them examples. You have to, again, you have to model the expectation. I'm an example about someone who came from an impoverished area, single parent home. I had a relationship with my dad, but I lived with my mom. And people looked at me and said that, hey man, you probably not gonna make it. There's some people who can't believe I'm in the position I'm in now. But you gotta keep pushing and you gotta use that as fuel to your fire. Where do you want to go? What are you gonna do to get there? You gotta make sure your boots on the ground. You gotta make sure you're digging in and doing what you need to do to be successful.
What's your vision for Black leadership in education?
My vision for Black leadership is always to just positive, effective example. Uh, make sure that you are doing the things that are building the culture, building the community. Don't have neighborhood thinking. Have a community thinking. That means you're impacting change. That means you're impacting people. That means you're actually pooling resources. That means you're not making it about yourself. That means you're making it about what's best for everyone involved. You're not so selfish that you got to be out front, but you got your sleeves rolled up that when people walk in a building, they can't tell who the principal is because everybody's working.
Mhm. Let's transition over to personal reflections and vision for you. What keeps you motivated during difficult times?
My faith. Um, if I don't have that, I don't have anything else. Staying rooted, grounded in that. Because my mom always told me that if I stay on it, um, I don't waver from it. Because I mean, it's been times when, yeah, we've had challenges, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, or why am I doing this? I just, I just stop and pause, and I understand the why. I've gotten the why. It's about serving, and I gotta serve.
How do you balance your professional life with being a husband and father?
Oh man, I make time for family is job one. Um, you know, I love my job. I love my staff and my students and the community. But I home is job one. I have to take care of them. Uh, I make specific when I come home. I'm at home. Yes, the phone may ring. Yes, I may get an email. But when I'm at home, I'm at home, and they are priority one. Um, we do what we have to do. Even today, I'm taking them to a soccer tournament, so we have to do, what we have to do.
What's one moment in your career that you'll never forget?
Um, I think the one moment I can say that I will never forget that day that I walked in the classroom for the first time and I saw students, and I was like, wow, this. That's when I knew it became real. Because remember, I said I never wanted to do this work. I never wanted to be an educator. When I walked in that classroom, I knew it was real. Started to see the process. I was like, wow, I
Mm.
make so it felt pretty good.
So, how do you celebrate student success?
Oh, just like I said, just like I did. I mean, I'll throw a party for the kids at the drop of a hat. Um, I make sure that I reward them with incentives, and I give them the things that I know that they like, and because they only all they like, man, you can have kids jumping out the walls just if you tell them you're gonna feed them pizza, or if you're gonna take them outside and cook food for them, or you're gonna if you got sponsors to come in and tell me you're going to give them a pair of brand new shoes, or clothes or whatever, I just want to. Sometimes I'll run down the hall and I have a handful of candy and I'll just say, "Hey, I caught you doing something good," and the kids love that. They just feel like, man, you're paying attention to what I'm doing, and when I'm paying attention to it, they feel so good about that. It's like, man, Doc gave me some candy today, and then the other kids are like, well, what did you do to get the candy? And then they got to do the same thing. So you keep that push going.
So, what's your proudest achievement as an educator?
One of my proudest moments I would be writing this book. Being able to write the book, um, Bridges and Breakthroughs has been, yeah, it was a phenomenal moment because I was able to work with some people who I respect and love in this business. Sonia Glover, Shannon Cotton, Eric Brent, Renee Meeks are phenomenal people, and they gave me a push and some insight that I didn't have, and um, they've elevated my thinking as a principal. All of them, of course, are principals as well, but this was one of the proudest moments I've had because I got a chance to collaborate with some people I respect.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you hope students remember about you years from now?
When it's all said and done, I hope they remember that I love them. I cared more about them being successful people than I did about the outcomes of it. I wanted them to be a well-rounded, powerful individual that could do anything that they would.
If you could change one thing about the education system, what would it be?
They pay us some more money. I mean, that's easy. Pay us more money. Man, can we like these NBA players? Can we make that type of money? Uh, but if that can't, my thing would be make sure that the resources that are necessary for success are available without stress or strain. Nobody should have to ask twice. You shouldn't have to beg. Resources are just there. You can have all you have to do is ask. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
What legacy do you hope to leave behind?
A legacy of love here. A legacy that says that Watt was a real cared about the cared about people. That's
How do you define success for yourself and for your students?
what define as success for myself is when we reach that level 5 status. That's when I know we'll be successful, and I know we will. I'm not worried. Um, we've moved the needle. We were a 1 level school. We moved to a 3 level school. We'll be a 3 level school, and we're gonna move to a 5 level school. I'm not worried not a bit about our success. Uh, I know that are going to graduate and they're going to graduate on time. They're going to go to college or to trade school. They're going to go into the workforce. They're going to be, so all of them are going to be successful. The opportunities are going to expand. I'm looking at the number of kids who are uh, ready graduates. This is how we measure the success rate by the number of kids that leave and become great.
Last question. What message do you have for young Black boys and girls who dream of leading?
Um, Make sure that you're authentic. Don't waver, fall victim to that you're boxed into. Be outside of the box. You're great
Okay.
for a reason, and because you're great, you're going to get
Wow. Okay. So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you like to leave for our audience? Tell them how they can connect with you on social media. Tell them you give them your website, links to your book, all of that good stuff.
I'll tell you what, to connect to me, and I'm gonna do that backwards. I'm gonna tell you the connection first, words of wisdom. But effectiveeducators.com is the website. That's also the tag for Facebook. Effective Educators is on Facebook. You can go Dr. Trent Watson on LinkedIn. But my words of wisdom are simply this: remember that intelligence is not about having all the right answers, but it's about asking the right questions and seeking the correct information, because it's important to consistently seek the correct information. And I'm so elated and appreciative of this opportunity that you've given me today. I can't say enough.
Well, I'd like to thank you for actually for spending some time with us, and I definitely would love to have you back on the show again. And also, if you need some speakers at your school, reach out and let me know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I tell you, yeah, I would love to come back and do this again. I mean, I would love to come back with the entire group from the book, for Bridges and Breakthroughs, which can be found on Amazon. The shift from educated employee to effective educator. It is a great read, and it is very insightful for those who are in leadership and in the classroom and in the business sector about what it takes to be an effective leader.
Mm. And I'd like to say, for those of you that are watching on all of the channels, if there was anything that you guys should have gotten from Dr. Watson's message today, it is that, you know, he went back to where he came from to contribute and grow the community via education. Community is key.
Yes,
And so if you are thinking about anything whatsoever to keep yourself as strong as you'd like to be and to be that leader that you so desire, you always start at home base, because home base, you've got all the support in the world that you need, where people can contribute from all parts of the community to make the dream come alive. To think about Dr. Watson going back to his school and contributing and building that school and making it the strong suit that he so desires. He says, "Be that person that you want to see." He's doing that. This is where we all need to chip in, especially when it comes to not just helping the community, but from those that are abroad. Let's all do what we have to do to help each other to continue this growth, because this kind of growth, you know, is organic, but it's very, very strong because it's deeply rooted.
yeah,
And I think this is a great lesson, especially learning here on a Friday, that hey, if we're gonna do it, let's do it together.
absolutely. Yes, sir.
I want to thank you all for watching us tonight. You know, it's a special show, but it's a great show. And as we go into this wonderful weekend, I want to tell you that I'm happy that you guys are supporting us by being here to watch the show. But if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. Let us have that support. Help us with that support and get all of the notifications so that every time we do go live, you are able to see the show live, but you're also able to go back and watch all the previous recordings, because there's a lesson in each and every recording that's definitely resonating with each and every individual that watches the show. I want you all to have a great weekend. We will see you guys next week on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. Thank you again, Dr. Watson. And I will definitely be sending you out some information that is for some dates I have available to get you back on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.